Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace. The subject of my talk today is Sarada Devi, the mother of all. We celebrated the birthday of Holy Mother Sarada Devi yesterday morning. We had a special worship service. We accompanied by singing of devotional songs and of course prasad lunch. You see there is a picture on the altar of Holy Mother Sarada Devi. It is just by the side of Sri Ramakrishna. Probably some of you know the story why it is there or how it is there, but some of you may not know that it was not there. So that story I would like to share with you. When this temple was dedicated, we had only 4 pictures on the altar. Sri Ramakrishna, then Swami Vivekananda, then Lord Buddha and Jesus Christ. The place where Sri Ramakrishna's picture is there, that place was empty. There only the vase used to be kept there. Just below Om, the vase used to be there. And the place where Holy Mother Sarada Devi's picture is there Sri Ramakrishna's picture used to be there. And we did not have any picture of Holy Mother on the altar. But we had a small picture where the picture of Lord Shiva is hanging. So it was framed and hung there. So in that way, we used to have the old arrangements. But it so happened, our previous Swami used to tell the story why actually the picture of Holy Mother is not on the altar. Our temple was dedicated, rather constructed and dedicated during the time of Swami Ashokananda, who was the minister in charge of the Vedanta Society of Northern California in San Francisco. And he expanded work. First he bought the property in Lake Tahoe. It is a prime property now. It was purchased in 1930s, I think, in the middle of 30s. Then he established the temple in Berkeley. It was in 1939. Then he bought the property which is in Olima. I think it was in late 40s or mid 40s. Then he thought that there should be a temple in between Lake Tahoe and San Francisco. The reason is that he used to draw a large number of devotees from all over Northern California. So a group of devotees used to go to listen to him from here every Sunday. And they offered money to buy a piece of land and construct a temple so that they can have regular services there. He used to come here to give talks or classes often. So just to regularize it as a Sunday service or weekly lecture, so they offered money. And he accepted that. And after accepting, this plot of land was purchased. Then the temple or the facility started to be constructed. And the way the facility was constructed is this, that he had a good number of monastic members and devotees who were skilled in construction work. And they used to come every weekend and they laid the garden. Nuns used to come, women devotees used to come, they laid the garden. And the men devotees and monks, they built this structure. Of course, this structure was designed by one well-known architect of the Bay Area. His name is Mr. Gutterson, Henry Gutterson. He has done a few churches in the Bay Area. He was a follower of, I think, a scientist, a Christian scientist, some order. So it took a long time because only the work used to be done only the weekends. So it took 14 years to complete this structure. It started, the property was purchased in 1950, and in 1964 on Jagadhatri Puja Day, this temple was dedicated. So at the time of dedication, you know, this altar was made. Previously, our altar was the altar that we see where our bulletins are there or teaching sheets are. That was the original altar, which was set up on the foyer. And those who used to come, they used to have such a sort of service, also Sunday service. So that used to be contacted by assistant swamis who used to visit regularly this place. But when the temple was constructed, it was this altar was made. But Swami Asukan was in a dilemma whether to put a picture of Holy Mother on the altar. Then after a lot of thoughts, he said that no, it is not the time yet to put the picture of Holy Mother on the altar. So he deferred that plan. Then, as I told you, that only 4 pictures used to be there. The reason that he said that to tell Holy Mother is the wife of Sri Ramakrishna, that actually does not, we do not feel happy about that. Holy Mother by herself was a great spiritual personality, and that is being revealed slowly, and many people actually do not mind, or they rather emphatically say that by her own nature or by her own capacity, she is herself a great spiritual person, just like Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna has said that half and half, that means I myself have done something and half of the other portion is being done there by Holy Mother Sarada Devi. So in another way, he equaled Holy Mother to himself. So he was what is called, he brought a spirituality and she sustained that. That we can definitely, we can come to that conclusion after studying her life. Today I shall go through her life a little bit, bio as it is called. Then we shall go to her teachings. Her teachings are unique. All the teachings of the great saints and sages you will find, they will quote from such and such place, or they will, what is called, of course some of them will tell something from their experiences also. But Holy Mother's advices are very direct, extremely direct. Direct in a sense that means she was unlettered as such, from the point of view of studies and scriptures and all those things. And she did not have the opportunity of listening even. We see Sri Ramakrishna had the great opportunity of listening to scholarly people, because he used to have assembly of learned persons around him. And in that way, though he was practically unlettered, but the scholars, when they used to discuss, debate, or give examples, he absorbed them. And we see that he had absorbed those knowledge in such a way that he himself used to use them while teaching. But Holy Mother, when we looked at her life, actually did not have that opportunity. In those days, women actually did not come in the what is called assembly of what is called learned persons, especially where men used to be there. So she used to be in a secluded place, so she did not have the opportunity of listening to them, only probably from a distance. In those days there is no intercom and mic and all those things. So what to do? From a distance probably she used to say who is coming and who is going in its Ramakrishna's room. And in that way she spent her life. But she did spiritual practice. And by dint of her own spiritual practices, what he had earned or what he had experienced, that actually she shared. And that is very valuable. Valuable because we are all seekers. Today or tomorrow we have to seek God. Today you may not be seeking, but under certain circumstances when things change, or by sheer luck also, you may feel someday, well, yes, let us try now. So in that way, when we come to that point, Holy Mother's advices actually are very much applicable in our lives. In different circumstances, in different stages of life, and even in different mental conditions, we see that her advices really work. So let us begin with the life of Holy Mother. Afterwards, I have a few pictures of Holy Mother, because nowadays we have these facilities, up-to-date technological facilities, so we shall associate our what is called ideas and talks with the places with which actually Holy Mother lived, and also how she looked, and in those days pictures were there, that means photography was there, so her pictures were also taken. A few pictures of her also we shall see, and also the places where she had lived or gone, that also we shall see in this PowerPoint. She was born in 1853 on December 22nd. I said that we celebrated yesterday her birthday. The reason is this: it was not 22nd December, definitely, it was 9th December. Why? The reason is this: our Indian celebrations follow lunar calendar. Of course, in other religions also, I understand they follow lunar calendar for religious purposes. But from ancient times, we follow the lunar calendar. So her actually birthday was on 22nd, and the position of the stars and planets and sun and moon and all those things, the way it was there, that fell yesterday. So that is why we celebrated her birthday yesterday. It is done every year. Sometimes it is in January even. We had the opportunity of celebrating her birthday in January. That means a month apart. That means it moves within a month. That means December beginning to January beginning. In that way, actually, the birthday travels. But whatever it may be, she was born on December 22nd in 1853 in a place called Jairambati. Jairambati, now of course it is not a remote place. You can have very nice what is called car ride or bus ride, and very soon probably they will get a train ride also, because I hear that some railway line is being laid in that area. So Jairambati at that time was a very remote place in the district of Bankura, and it is about 75 miles maybe northwest of Calcutta. And he was born in a very pious in a sense that he was born in a Brahmin family. Of course, as such, probably her father and mother was very religious or spiritual, but they had some land, poor person, a small possession of lands, and they used to cultivate, and in that way their earning used to come. Father probably used to do some religious activities, priestly activities, and in that way they lived. She was the eldest child and eldest daughter also. She had other brothers and also one young sister. And as we see, she was married to Sri Ramakrishna, who was doing spiritual practices in Dakshineshwar and had the bad reputation that he has gone mad. So in that way, she was given into marriage to Sri Ramakrishna at the age of 6 only. The situation, stories are very interesting from today's point of view, that Kamarpur, where Sri Ramakrishna was born, that village was not too far, 3 miles away from Jairambati. It is in the Hooghly district. So it is just border. One is Bankura, another what is called Hooghly. In that way, the 2 villages are situated. But naturally, in those days, people used to travel from here to there and meet people, and in that way, communications used to happen like in that way. But that ill reputation that Sri Ramakrishna has gone mad in the Kali temple of Dakshineshwar, where he was a priest, actually reached that place. So nobody was really interested in giving into marriage their daughters to Sri Ramakrishna. He had, at that time, he was about in 20s, mid-20s. And but Sri Ramakrishna himself, when they failed, that means they could not find a bride. In those days, bride had a marriage was there, so they had to find a bride and find a groom. So in that way, things used to happen. So ultimately, Sri Ramakrishna himself said that, well, you go to that house of Ram Chatujje, and we'll find that his daughter will be my future wife. So in that way, it was predestined. Marriage was performed, and everybody was very sorry that Sarada, that means Holy Mother's home given name, was married to a mad person. So that was a very lamentable situation through which actually she had to pass throughout his young age. In those days, marriage used to happen at a young age, but the girl used to go after attaining age and used to start living with the husband or the husband's family later on. It happened to Sarada Devi also. But there are occasions when Sri Ramakrishna used to, after the marriage, Sri Ramakrishna again went back to Dakshineshwar and continued his spiritual practices, and that what is called ill fame of Sri Ramakrishna was continued to be chattered among the what is called the village people, and she was very sorry, upset, and in that way she used to spend time. But when Sri Ramakrishna used to come, she had the opportunity of coming to her husband's place, but she was pretty sure that it is not the way people are saying. And later on, when things were extreme, she herself went, when words came that she has gone, what is called, madness has increased to the extreme. So she wanted to check herself and went to the Dakshineshwar Kali temple. And she was received just like a normal person will receive his wife. So he was convinced that all the things that were being circulated was really wrong, mistaken, and ultimately she offered herself to help Sri Ramakrishna in her spiritual pursuit. That was a great thing. Sri Ramakrishna, being a husband, actually was not sure whether she will be helpful or it will be otherwise, might happen otherwise also. But she was very, very gracious to offer herself to help Sri Ramakrishna in her spiritual practice, and that we see that commitment actually continued till throughout her life. So later on we see that when ultimately she came to Dakshineshwar Kali temple, the reason was that Sri Ramakrishna, because he was spiritual minded, he used to do intense spiritual practice, he forgot the mundane things. And he looked like a madman because nobody did spiritual practices intensely as he did. And also he had some other what is called peculiarities, that he practiced different religions also, different paths also, all those things nobody had done. So he was a extreme type of spiritual seeker and did spiritual practice to the extreme extent. So he needed somebody to take care of him, because in those days health and all those things were not that good. Water was polluted. They did not know that there is pollution. Ganges water, purest of the pure. They used to drink like anything. So in that way, no health consciousness was there. So he used to fall sick very often. And so, before Holy Mother's coming to Dakshineshwar Kali temple, Sri Ramakrishna had a nephew. His name was Hridaya. He was very much attached to Sri Ramakrishna. He used to take care of Sri Ramakrishna from the mundane side. Health, food, if he was doing something which was really affecting his health, he used to stop. He was of his age. That means Sri Ramakrishna and Hridaya were more like friends than what is called a nephew and uncle, like that. So in that way, he used to apply discipline on Sri Ramakrishna. But unfortunately, something happened with the temple authorities. He had to leave that temple. So somebody needed to take care of Sri Ramakrishna. So she came and started living in a adjacent small place. It is called Nahabat. Nahabat means a music tower. And in the music tower, it is meant for music. So, but incidentally, there is a small room at the base. So she started living in a very small room. So there she lived and used to take care of especially food. And also by the time Sri Ramakrishna became well known to Calcutta devotees, many people used to come and entertain them. That means there is an Indian custom of hospitality, you know. If you go to an Indian house, even today you will find that they will at least offer a glass of water. They will ask, will you please take a glass of water? Then probably some sweetmeats or some refreshments. That is a custom throughout India. Probably it is not only India, probably it is custom in the eastern part of the what is called Asia or something like that. Asian custom, Eastern custom, we can say. That is the probably the best word. So, so that has to be taken care of. So she was always busy in taking care of Sri Ramakrishna. At the same time, the devotees or the visitors that used to come there. So she had to work hard. And in that way, we see that. But when she came, Sri Ramakrishna, because of her personal interest in spirituality, instructed her, and not only instructed her, actually offered, that means spiritual offering, if you call say, in the spiritually transferred some spiritual wealth to her by some spiritual means. So in that way, she herself became a great spiritually elevated person. And as you know that probably it is my just guess that if she had not done spiritual practice, what Sri Ramakrishna had given to her, probably that could have been enough for her. But she was not really satisfied. She herself did intense spiritual practice the way actually others do. Sri Ramakrishna himself did many paths, but she also did whatever given by her. She had a separate teacher at the beginning, but later on Sri Ramakrishna also instructed her. In that way, she had a wealth of spiritual knowledge accessible to her. So it is said that on some occasions, every day, she used to do about 100,000 of the repetition of name, which is unique. Unique in the sense it is not possible for a person, ordinary persons like us, to do that many times of repetition of God's name. She used to do that in spite of her other duties, other mundane duties that she was supposed to do. So in that way, she established herself in the spiritual realm, established herself in a sense that means she was very strong in spiritual knowledge and spiritual attainments. That is the point. Later on, we see that Sri Ramakrishna fell ill. He was taken to Calcutta. Treatment started. She also went. She had some diet part actually she used to take care, and also, as I told you, she used to take care of the visitors' food and all those things. In that way, when Sri Ramakrishna came to Calcutta, in two places, Shampupur and this Kasipur, these are two places where he was brought. He had cancer, so naturally he needed to be taken care of by good doctor. Good doctors are very expensive. So the devotees thought that if he stays in Calcutta, probably it will be easy for the doctors to come often and do whatever is necessary. So in that way, Sri Ramakrishna was brought, and we see that for about 10 months or 1 year, she actually lived when he came to Calcutta, and ultimately Sri Ramakrishna succumbed to her illness. Then actually the ordeal started coming. A loss of husband of the stature of Sri Ramakrishna was you can imagine what a great loss. But she was a very insignificant lady from the point of view of society. So nobody cared her, except later on we see when it was discovered as a situation. So first she went to a pilgrimage in Vrindavan, spent some time, then came back. And as the custom was in those days, she stayed in Kamarpur, that means in husband's place. Once you are married, you go to husband's place. So she came as a widow, but she was not really well accepted there. Then she again came back to her home in Jarambati. And by that time, a few devotees actually discovered her very poor condition. That means she did not have even good clothes to wear, and what to say about food and all those things. She was very much neglected. Then slowly actually, we see that when the devotees discovered this situation, one of the devotees, Swami Yogananda used to take care. After him, Swami Sarada actually came forward, and he actually took care of Holy Mother Sarada Devi, just like him, independent spiritual personality. The way Sri Ramakrishna is to be treated by the devotees, the same level of spiritual, what is called honor, started to be given to her. So she used to come to Calcutta. Sri Ramakrishna had told Holy Mother that, well, I am of poor health, I shall die, and after my death, what will happen to the spiritual wealth that I have acquired for the sake of the humanity? because spiritual hunger is there and people are suffering also. So they need to know that there is something beyond this suffering. So I could not do with this frail body too much. So rest of the thing, that means you have to continue this mission for the welfare of the humanity. He used to say that Calcutta people are just suffering like insects. That means a type of insects. So they are suffering, they are ignorant and all those things, all the what is called sorrows and sufferings, and they need some sort of succor. You have to help them. So the mission was given to her, but once she was discovered in that condition and when brought back to her own stature, we see that people started coming. When they came to know that yes, Polymath Sarada Devi is really a great spiritual personality by her own, what is called, by her own nature. So Saradananda built her house, two houses, one in Calcutta, another in her own place in Jarambati. Because there are family feud and all those things, so he wanted to have Polymath Sarada Devi a sort of independent, what is called, living. So in that way those things were established and people started coming and started getting the spiritual help from her. He was a great help. That is why she is called mother. Mother in a sense, she did not have any children, but in the spiritual life actually, she was just like a mother. Mother, you know, it has been said that God created mother because he could not be he could not be present everywhere. So mothers actually serve the purpose of God in our life. So God, mother is the representative of God as such, and she actually fulfilled that mission. So with all sorrows and what is called all the problems of their lives, they used to come, and Holy Mother Sarada used to receive anybody. Anybody in a sense, that means we sometimes feel the person who will be well-to-do, or maybe what is called well-known, or educated, or something else. In that way we are choosy. Sri Ramakrishna was very choosy, but his choice was a little different type. That means some people used to say that he used to choose people from good families only. That means wealthy families. When he used to say a son is born in such and such well-to-do family, he used to catch hold of them and met them as disciples. It was not really like that. It happened in that way. Some of them were well-to-do, but some of them were the poorest of the poor also. That means they lived on the street also. So in case of Sri Ramakrishna, Holy Mother Sarada Devi, we see that she used to have that instinct of mother. So she used to feel the motherly type of what is called, somebody approached him, and with the mother's heart actually she perceived them. That means what they need, what were their need, actually she perceived that. In that way she helped them. And also we see that she never discriminated, as I told you, from where they are coming. A person may be what is called, may not be millionaire but very well to do, at the same time might be a criminal even. That means rejected from the society. That type of person also used to come, but they used to get the same treatment. Same treatment in a sense, that means there was no change in her mind while dealing with the persons who used to come. We feel that yes, this person is very well to do, probably I have to dress well, I have to put the time, and probably I have to offer tea and coffee and all those things. So that in that way, that will be the proper dignified way of treating a person. But in Holy Mother's case, actually, her treatment was the same. He used to tell Sharath, that means the direct disciple of Sri Ramakrishna, who actually took care of her throughout his life, or throughout her life, the way she used to treat him, and the same way actually she used to treat the ordinary persons, like even the criminals, as I told you. That means those who are not really respected, or those at the lowest rung of the society. So that we see in her life. Now my main point today was that to share some of her what is called advices. Well, let me conclude a little bit how actually the end came. She used to divide her time between Calcutta and Jairambati, because in Jairambati she had her home, house, and also the family. She never took monastic vows. She was just like what is called widow, a Hindu widow, you can say. So naturally, she had being the eldest child of the family, and his brothers were always called some people, worldly people, and they had always difficulties in their families. So she used to solve them. At the same time, she liked actually Jairambati because she belonged to a village. But for the sake of the devotees who wanted spiritual knowledge and spiritual help, she had to visit Calcutta also. So in that way she used to come. She used to divide her time after the passing of Sri Ramakrishna for a few years, when she was really discovered, if you call it. She divided her time. And ultimately she fell ill in the 1920s, actually we see that before 1919 or 1920 like that, she fell ill. In those days, the health and hygiene was very poor, malaria was there. And there was another extreme disease which is known as Kala-Azar, which is extreme type of malaria, if you call it. That means there is still, I believe, there is no good treatment for that. So she fell ill with Kala-Azar. And in village, as you see, that there is no good treatment, so she was brought to Calcutta. And all the good doctors were called, but ultimately she succumbed to that disease. That means high fever, very high fever. That means Kala-Azar. Kala means, that means which does not have any end. That means it is deadly, you can say deadly fever. So in that way, that she succumbed to that in 1920. So what actually she taught? She taught in this way. The devotees of from different walks of life used to come, and there are different types of problems or different types of questions, some spiritual, some mundane, and in that way, and also some practical side, there are things. So naturally, there is a good collection you will find in many places. So I have a few to share with you. A disciple wanted to know if all human beings can get rid of desires. Desires, you know, we always talk about desire in our scriptures or in our classes or in our talks. Desires is what is called the driving force, or what is called the fuel of a birth, if you call it. Just like a rocket. Rocket has a fuel and it takes the rocket to different heights and places. It is the fuel, or in an ordinary car also, just like a gasoline. Gasoline, desire is the gasoline which actually moving the what is called our lives. So it has been said in our scriptures in many places, everybody has said that, well, become desireless and you will get liberation. But the point is that how to do that. So mother replied, how can they? That means, let me repeat, a disciple wanted to know if all human beings can get rid of desires. So is there any what is called golden time when the people will be desireless? So that was the question. So Holy Mother said, how can they? If they could, then the creation would come to an end. The world is going on because not all can be free of desires. People with desires are born again and again. This is the simple reason. That means desires are the motive power of our birth, of our death, and again rebirth, and in that way actually the play is going on. If somebody can get rid of desire, actually that is the way to get liberation. Sri Ramakrishna also said about desire, God cannot be seen so long as there is the slight taint of desire. Therefore, have your minor desires, that is a practical advice, have your minor desires satisfied and renounce the major ones through right reasoning and discrimination. Desires and desires, there is a varieties of desires. I might like to, what is called, have a cup of tea every morning. That is a desire. So naturally, I can fulfill that. But if I desire to be the President of the United States someday, that will be very difficult. So I have to apply a little bit common sense reasoning that, well, that is too high a desire that I could better renounce that. So in that way, if we can really figure out what is feasible desire and which is practicable, so small desires can be fulfilled, which are innocent type. But if you are too long, that means if you want to have a large property, large what is called a big family, and your descendants will enjoy everything. In that way, if you have that type of desire, really will take away everything of your life. So you won't have the time to do any spiritual practice. That is the point. So desire actually is the what is called motive force of our births. Another disciple, a monk, complained that many insignificant desires cropped in his mind. Insignificant desires. That means slowly I want to see that, I want to go there, or somebody has said that I should do like this and all those things. In the mind, desires are always bubbling. Thoughts are bubbling, and amongst the thoughts, desires also. It is mixed up with desires. In that way, things are happening. So he is saying, let me repeat, another disciple, a monk, complained that many insignificant desires cropped up in his mind. Insignificant is monk, actually his path is really chalked out. That means you have to renounce, you have to do this spiritual practice, or he has to do such and such duties and all those things. So his path is chalked out, but still, actually in the mind, different desires are there. Their thoughts are coming up, which are senseless or useless. How could he get rid of them? Then mother, quote, in your case, these are not real desires. So there are desires which are real, but are really unreal, if you call it in a short term. So not real desires. So what are those not real desires, unreal desires? They are only fancies that appear and disappear. So they come and go. So she is continuing, said, the more they do so, the better for you. That is also very interesting. So if these fancies come to your mind, she is saying that, well, they are good for you, they are not bad. Then the disciple complained that in spite of his practicing spiritual disciplines, the impurities of his mind were not growing less. Impurities means undesirable thoughts, the thoughts which you want to get rid of, which are really bad in a sense. That means they are obstructions to spiritual growth. That type of thought are coming. The mother explained this by referring to the tendencies created by past karma. Karma, as you know, that it is unseen, unseen theory, but it is a very rational theory. That means you have to apply your mind to believe in karma, because this life is not the only life that we have, where with this life only you can really expand many things. So you have to think that there must be something which you have done in the past lives. That is the karma. So he said, suppose you have rolled a thread of different colors, red, black and white, on a reel, like karmas. While you unwind it, you will see it come out in exactly the same order. You will find only one or two persons who are free from all desires. Though a man obtains a new body determined by his desires, yet if he has performed righteous action in his previous birth, he does not completely lose spiritual consciousness. This is a great hope. Suppose you do something good, which is spiritually good, in this life, it will never get lost. Even if you cannot get the liberation in this life, if you say, or you cannot attain to a higher spiritual realm. All the actions that we do are really preserved in our, what is called, in a place which is called Suksma Sharira. There is a technical term. That means we carry our, what is called, all the results of our action in the future lives. So if you do good works, good actions, the good result of the good actions will go with you, and that they will be effective in the future lives. It is not only Holy Mother saying, it is supported by the scriptures also. Lord Krishna also has said. So in that way, do good work. If you think that that is not enough, so it will go with you. So it will never be lost. That is the point. Continuing, Holy Mother says, a person may have no relatives anywhere. It is very important. How actually we create unnecessary work. how we create our unnecessary attachment, which she is pointedly telling. A person may have no relatives anywhere. That means relatives, son is there, then son's family is there, granddaughter is there, grandchild is there, then not only that, probably your sister is there, your brother is there. In that way, our mind is all scattered with this, what is called relatives and friends and all those things. But suppose a person, ideal person, that person does not have anybody like that, but still she is saying, a person may have no relatives anywhere, but Mahamaya may make him keep a cat and thus make him worldly. So we, just to keep our mind engaged in something, just what is called, we create our own attachment. That is it. This is very, what is called, very pithy advice or pithy observation, that is. She used to love cats, She had cats, and if somebody actually mistreated a cat, she used to scold, and that we see in her life. But still, you see, from the point of view of attachment, how unknowingly we create our own attachment that she is pointing out. It is not necessary. And so she is continuing, said, this is how she plays. She means that Mahamaya plays. Another disciple is saying, do those who give up their bodies in a state of unconsciousness attain to a higher spiritual state afterwards? This is very pertinent question. Nowadays, people are dying like what is called insects. That means you do not know when you will die. Probably that is the best way of saying the situation of present day. So if you die at that, what is called, when you are not conscious, then what will happen to that person? So we believe that if a person dies with consciousness, thinking of God, naturally will get liberation or go to the chosen ideal, chosen thought. In that way it will happen. But suppose somebody dies in an unconscious state. I know a person who was unconscious 40 days after what is called one automobile accident. But he regained his consciousness. So what will happen to a person who actually dies in an unconscious condition? That is a very good question. Does those who give up their bodies in a state of unconsciousness attain to a higher spiritual state afterwards? Mother replied, quote, the thought that is uppermost in the mind before one loses consciousness determines the course of one's soul after death. So it is like this, that means unknowingly, or we are not conscious at that time. Suppose I have the opportunity of taking God's name at the time of death. Death is coming, I am feeling. So that is understandable that I shall go to good place or get liberation. But this situation may not happen. I have to travel in an automobile, I have to walk on the street, I have to go to schools and colleges and all those things, and I do not know where I shall die. So the point is that the thought actually, what will be at the time before the, what is called going into unconscious state, that thought will be the what is called take the soul to the proper place. Proper place means a deserving place. If there is a possibility of taking God's name at that time, then actually we shall go to the God's abode. It will happen like that. Now, another one I used to share, because from the practical point of view, which actually we see that is very pertinent for us. She says, Holy Mother constantly emphasized the need for regular practice. Regular practice means every day at a fixed time, or at what is called available time, when you actually can manage to do spiritual practice. Regularity, that is the point. Real progress is made by steady effort and not by sudden sparks. Suppose I feel I go to India and go to these places of pilgrimage and do an instant spiritual practices and then come back and go live just like the way I live. That means we do not do regular spiritual practice. That will not work. Work in a sense that is not really the way one should progress in spirituality. She emphatically said that do spiritual practices regularly. Do something daily. She once remarked, quote, as you smell the fragrance of a flower while handling it, or smell of sandal while rubbing it against a stone, so you obtain spiritual awakening by constantly thinking of God. This is the what is called a very practical advice. That means the time actually you can apply or devote in the thought of God, that is the way actually God consciousness actually comes. That means more time you apply in thinking of God, the more time you apply in thinking of God, the better is the possibility of having spiritual attainment. That is the point. Not by fits and stuff. That means you fix some time, you do, and then you do mundane things, then again you do something fixed. That means 2-3 days intense spiritual practice, then the rest of the time and days you do mundane things. That is not the way things should be done. That is her advice. If you become desireless, you can realize Him right now. That means if your mind is devoted to God constantly, actually naturally there is no scope of desires entering into your mind. So in that way we can become desireless. Now, but this desireless is not possible without the practice of discipline and without God's grace. That also she said. Then let me share another one. A devotee asked if one had been blessed. That is a very good question. A devotee asked if one who had been blessed by Holy Mother as his guru needed to practice any spiritual discipline. That means he thought that Holy Mother, Sri Ramakrishna's what is called divine consort, or even what is called if Sri Ramakrishna has blessed somebody, so will that person require to do any spiritual practice? Mother said, quote, "You may be right." That means, yes, you may be right, but the real point is this. There may be different kinds of foodstuffs in the storeroom, but one must cook them. That means you have all the facilities and all the things that you need for satisfying your hunger, that is there. Whoever cooks earlier gets his meal earlier. Some can eat in the morning, some in the evening, some may have to fast because they have been too lazy to cook. The more intensely a person practices spiritual discipline, the more quickly he attains God. Even if a devotee does not practice spiritual discipline, he will attain God in the end. Surely he will. So that is a sort of great assurance. But the time factor is in our hands. That is the point. That means things are already given, and the way you actually handle them, you get the result, early or late. If he spends his time idling without practicing prayer and meditation, he will take a long time to realize God. So these are the advices that she used to give. All right, let us see a few pictures of Holy Mother Sarada Devi. This is a picture in the Belur Math temple. She was cremated in Belur Math premises at that time. There was no other temples. One temple probably was there. So Swami Vivekananda's temple was there. So, but the place where she was cremated, a temple was erected, and there a picture of Holy Mother was installed, and that is being worshipped even today. And this is the place where she was, that means Jarambati. That means the hearts are maintained the way it used to be in those days. And this is the big temple that has come up after her passing away. That means those huts are kept, and this is another plot of land where the new temple after her passing away was built. And this is another scene of that village. Yeah, this is the image inside the temple in Jarambati. They are very tastefully decorated. This is a marble image that is there. And this is one picture that was taken during her stay in Jarambati. You can see it is a storeroom. That means behind her, what is called the sacks of probably rice and all those things are there, which used to be used to feed devotees. This is a very serene picture. This is another picture Holy Mother is resting or just looking from a veranda or something like that. This is the Dakshineshwar Kali temple where she lived with Ramakrishna. This is the main temple, and in front is the Ganges, and the other Shiva temples are there, and you can see the place of bathing that is coming down to the river. And this is the place actually she used to live, on the ground floor. First floor, you can say. This is the Nohaba, the music tower. And at the first floor, actually, you can see that the people are standing there. So there, actually, inside there is a room where she used to live, where she used to take care of Sri Ramakrishna. And this is in that room, very recently, not too many years ago, the statue of Holy Mother has been installed. So people go there and pay respect. This is the actual inside the room, which has been turned into a shrine. And this is the Mother's house. This is the Bagbazar. That means in Calcutta, the house which was made, which was constructed by Swami Sarada for her stay when she used to visit Calcutta. Mother's house. Udbodhan, as it is called. This is the shrine in that house. You can see at a distance the shrine is there. Holy Mother herself used to do daily worship. And the front side there is a picture of Holy Mother on a bed. And the bed actually was her bed, where she used to sleep. And now it is a shrine of that place, and it is maintained the way it used to be. And this is a picture which was taken in a studio actually. This is a painting of her face by one of our monks in Prabhupada. And this is on the left side is the temple of Holy Mother, where actually she was cremated in Belur Math premises. And in front of there is the steps goes to the Ganges. And this is another view of that temple. And this is the shrine inside that temple. That means it is nicely decorated, and every day worship is performed there. So these are the pictures that I wanted to share with you.